Hey everybody, hopefully you guys enjoyed the conversation with Amanda. 3.0 was a wild ride and we're only halfway through it. I have to let you all know though, there is a little bit of an issue with the recording. It should be fine for the most part, but just please have some grace. You'll see in a second. Anyway, thank you. Enjoy. Hey, how's it going everybody? So 3.0, this has been a crazy update to say the least. I have with me the magnanimous Amanda Rishel, voice actor for Wuthering Waves. You all probably know her as a voice actor for Karathea, but she's basically just become a content creator in her own right. And so, yeah, she was awesome enough to have a conversation with me today and us, generally speaking, about the 3.0 update. From what I understand, you did it recently, right?
Yes, it was only, 3 or 4 days ago. So it's fairly fresh in memory. Did the first half, the content that is out.
Yeah.
And I've had a chance to do a tiny bit of exploration. Like I've not completed everything, but I've had a look at everything.
Same. We just wanted to have a conversation about, what we thought about it. I've been able to see some discussion online about different people's opinions about it. And obviously, it's time to weigh in. If you've been enjoying 3.0 and you're enjoying Lynae, or maybe you don't have Lynae yet, or you want Mornye, check this out.
Hey Rovers, feeling a bit light on Lunites when new banner drops? Don't sweat it. I found a simple, safe, and most importantly, much affordable way to get more pulls. It's Loot Bar. Seriously, over 18,000 rovers worldwide already use it to save big on their top-ups. It's safe and reliable. How does it work? So easy. Just few simple steps. 1. Head to Loot Bar and find the pack you need. 2. Pick your payment method and pay up. 3. After payment succeed, start self-top-up. It feels just like in-game top-up. The Lunites will hit your account instantly. Super fast. And your info? Wiped clean right after. Your account stays 100% safe, guaranteed. So, ready to save more on Wuthering Waves? Head over to Loot Bar now. Link is in description below.
What are your thoughts about, what are your general thoughts? If you were to give just a first impression based on what you experienced, what were your thoughts kind of coming away from this update?
Well, so this is the first time that I have been, I suppose, part of a major patch launch, because I started playing Wuthering Waves in 2.3, so that was sort of already part way into the Renacita arc. I kind of came to it sort of late, so this is my first time being, I suppose, present for a new major patch, and I think the aim here was to do something that was very different to what we had just had, I think, and I think they succeeded in that, because it feels very different, and I think in a good way. And I say that as someone who loved 2.x, not just because I worked on it and I'm biased, but just I think that patch quite appealed to me because I quite like fairy tale stuff. I like, fantasy stuff, and I think that, the heavy European influences on that probably just resonated with me because I am European. And I liked the visuals of it. I liked the flight mechanics. There are a lot of things I like: the character, the story, the themes, the music. A lot of that just really, really appealed to me. And so this feels quite different. And despite really liking everything about 2.x, I think it's good that they didn't just say, well, let's do more of the same. That was well received. We're just going to give you more of that. I think it's really clever to say, yeah, we did that. That was great. We all loved that. But now we're doing something completely different. And so whether you liked 2.x or whether you preferred 1.x, I feel like it's very clever to go to something that feels different to both of those parts of the game. It feels fresh in its own way because it's still Wuthering Waves. It's still, I would say, sci-fi, more so now than maybe it was in 2.x. But the visual style of it feels different to both 1.x and 2.x. The music feels different. The traversal mechanics are different because we've got the bike instead of the flight. I love the flight. I think I will love the bike slightly less, but I think it's really good that they're doing different things. And it's been fun to try, well, how does that change the game? to introduce a different style of mechanics. So I really appreciate that they said we'll do something different, and I think they delivered on it. And it feels cohesive from what I've seen so far. It does feel like, yeah, okay, this is a different setting, with its own lore, with its own characters, with its own rules. And I was just intrigued by it. It feels introductory because we've only got half the story of 3.0. So because they're not releasing the story all in one the way they did in 2.0, we're going to get the second part of 3.0, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, it's only sort of half the story of one patch. And therefore, I think from what we've seen right now, it feels introductory, but I don't mean that in a negative way as such. I just feel like the focus here was to introduce us to the new setting, set up some of the main characters, hint at some of the future conflicts and antagonists that we will encounter, and just ease into how is this going to be different from what we've done previously. So I feel like we've actually not gotten very deep into the story yet, but I also don't have a problem with that, because I think going from one major patch to a new one and introducing so many new things, I think it's fine to take time to just land in that and give players, a week or two to sort of go through all of that, and then hit hard with the story again in the second half. I think that's what they're going to do, and I think that's a completely valid way to do it. I've enjoyed it so far.
All right, so this is going to be the beginning of me and Amanda's drama arc, because I disagree totally with everything. I'm just playing. No, seriously, I do disagree with you on one thing, though, but I'll explain it in a second. So I'm going to be honest, after taking the time that I have to really digest this, I think this was the best patch. I think this was actually the best patch of Wuthering Waves. I genuinely think this was singularly their best patch. But and we're only halfway through it. I have to wait till the end of the first, of the actual 3.0, when we get the second part of the story. But overall, I actually think this was the best patch they've released to date. And I'm not saying that to glaze or anything like that. I don't say anything without backing for it. Now, as somebody who does lore, and it's not even just because I do lore, but it's because I look at this thing very analytically, right? There's just so much they got right. So I'll explain. I'm going to start with what you were talking about, the different setting, right? For a lot of people, this is kind of a return to form. Because like you said, the game started the way that I described it, with Jinzhou and everything. It felt kind of like Final Fantasy to me in a way, where you kind of had this melding of machines and magic, basically. And obviously the sci-fi aspects of it, kind of like Final Fantasy VII in a way. Then you moved to Ridacita, which was, your fantasy area, which I'm a big fan of fantasy myself. I enjoyed it. But I do know a lot of people were hoping to get that sci-fi thing back, and understandably, because that's kind of how the game was originally marketed. And so people were just Ridacita kind of felt like a departure from that in a way. Even from a storytelling perspective, though, I think Ridacita made a lot of sense. And I'll kind of get into that in a second. But then you get to Lynae, which is essentially your, I've heard it called solar punk.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and so it's you go from sci-fi to whatchamacallit, or yeah, I guess whatever you want to call it. It's all sci-fi, but whatever you want to call it, Jinzhou, I don't know. China.
Yeah, well, it had that post-apocalyptic sense to it, right?
It was very, very heavily in the post-apocalyptic vibes. One thing I always try to remind people of: post-apocalyptic doesn't necessarily always mean it has to look horrible. Ridacita is still technically post-apocalyptic because of the fact it's after an apocalypse. That's all. Those are the only requirements it has to have. And so Jinzhou they're on the front lines of a war. So that's why it looks so bad, in terms of the destruction and kind of desperation vibes going on. So yeah, you have your post-apocalyptic area, your fantasy area. Now we have this like solar punk area, but I actually think this area is almost like a fusion of like
Okay.
it has pseudo fantasy vibes while also going, you know, it's like a mixture of fantasy and cyberpunk in a way, or like punk, whatever you want to call it. Because you notice like even with the plants have like these digital sort of veins, I guess you can call them.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that this was a good melding, but this is what I'll say for right now. This story, and mark my words, is about to be it's going to change the entire game of Wuthering Waves.
I believe that.
Like, so I want to get into a concept, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. I've said this before. The story of Wuthering Waves, as of right now, is missing something, but it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It's missing a how. We have a what. We have kind of like a what/why, but we haven't had a how yet. So if somebody were to ask you, what is Wuthering Waves about, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd probably tell them, okay, yeah, well, you know, you're playing as this character, their name's Rover, and they're trying to stop this calamity called the Lament, right?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
There is no clear plan that we know of.
Exactly.
You know?
There's been
It's kind of, they're playing it by ear.
and this has caused a lot of people to think that like the story just has no clear direction. And it does, contrary to I don't want to say popular belief, but contrary to a certain popular belief, it does actually have a direction, but we just haven't gotten there yet. And this is what Lynae is actually going to be doing for the game. It's going to be putting people on this path of understanding exactly what's going on and why. Like, we have an amnesiac main character, right? So clearly they don't know what the plan is. So how are we going to know what the plan is? But yeah, like I said, Lynae is actually going to be the turning point, and there's proof. They don't have much of a choice in this regard, because regardless of whether we beat the bad guy or we don't beat the bad guy, something is going to change dramatically. I mean, you could probably look at it yourself. Like, so this is my question to you: do you understand the nature of this Threnodian? Like, just in simple terms.
My understanding of it is that the problem with the Threnodians are that they are inevitably connected with society. So you can't just, if you have society, you will have Threnodians, because they are born of, I suppose, the conflicts that arise between people. And so you can't simply, that's why you can't just kill Threnodians, because they are linked to us.
But this one in particular in Lynae, do you understand the nature of this Threnodian currently that we're dealing with? Because like,
no,
I know we've only gotten a little bit, but okay, yeah, that's fine. The Void Worm, right?
Yeah.
That would be kind of like your example of the nature of the Threnodian. I cannot think of a worst problem to deal with. This thing is basically a black hole.
Yeah, and if you get too close to it, it will start to essentially unravel your frequency.
Everything that it touches gets disintegrated, basically. How do you get worse than that?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Like I'm being so serious. I actually, so there's this really interesting thing in Naruto. And I'm just gonna presume everybody knows what Naruto is. You know what Naruto is?
Yes, I've seen it.
So, interesting thing, in the beginning of Naruto, especially if you watch the first show instead of Naruto Shippuden, but the first one, the creator of Naruto actually had to retcon things a little bit because he made Naruto too strong at the very beginning.
Right.
If you remember, I think it was like one of the first episodes where like he stole the scroll and his teacher came to save him, and then he made like 100 or more shadow clones or something like that, and you never see that power again until he's
we forgot about that.
Yeah, because they had to retcon him, right? And so in the same way, I'm just looking at this Threnodian like, how do you go up from here?
Yeah,
Um,
it's significant increase of the stakes.
exactly. So as a result of that, just that alone, this story is
Mhm.
about to it's about to go to a really big about to have a really big shift. I'll just kind of leave it at that. There'll be some lore videos to go more in depth with that, but how so what did you think about, and this would just be my thing, the music in this patch has been so good.
Hmm.
Like I was on the bike for I want to say like the bike is a scary instrument because I end up getting on that bike and just being on it for far too long.
Okay.
Like I'm just listening, like you can have like a whole favorites track list for some of the
Hmm.
songs,
Yeah, yeah.
and they even made remixes to old songs that we know.
It is pretty cool. That bit, I can totally see why that has, I think, sucked a lot of people in. And I guess that's also why there's an autopilot mode for the people who just want to, you know, ride and listen to music and have the vibes. I totally get that. I think some of the music, I haven't set up like a favorites playlist
Yeah.
or anything yet because I've just kind of been, well, play the music and I'll kind of figure out what I like and what I don't like. I think some of the songs that just, I don't know if they come on completely randomly or if there's like a logic to it if you've set it to not do anything specific. If there is a logic to sort of certain music in certain areas, I'm not sure about that. But some of the songs are absolutely amazing. I think one of the first ones, and I think probably it felt like it was intentional that that was the first one that came up, but one of the first things that came up at a certain point in the, I don't think it was in the story, I think it was in like exploration when I sort of unlocked certain things about the bikes, was the one that's called Throttle Up, and that's an absolutely insane track. When that came on, I was like, do you know what? Because I say this, in full honesty, I am not particularly interested in traversal mechanic in games. Like, I have to be honest. The motorbike, I think it's cool. I think it's great that they're doing different things. I think I'm not the target audience for it because I just don't care that much. But I will say, even as someone who isn't particularly invested, when that song came on, I was like, do you know what? I kind of understand it. Like that made me see the vision of it.
I'm so happy that you said that song because it's legitimately, so it's actually the song that plays at the very end of the story when
Yes,
you're
okay. I couldn't remember when I heard it.
the void worm, like at that last, they only play like toward
Yes,
the end.
gotcha.
Okay, so it's not the very end of the story, but it's at the end of the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so good.
It's a
so
very good song. It's a very good song. And I feel like with the right music, I can see the appeal of just driving around and experiencing the world. I completely see the vision of that. And
Yeah,
I think
and
it's
that's,
the music really is part of it.
I also like the song that played at the very beginning of the story. So it's very interesting. It plays at the beginning and the end. If you do this is something that's very easy to skip or potentially miss.
Yeah.
I reckon your chat might have told you though about this. Did you finish the story fully, as in talking to Lynae at the very end?
Do you mean is it like on the rooftop?
No,
There was a conversation with her that felt...
not that one, because I saw that part of
Okay.
your stream. So
Okay.
so after you guys do everything, she talks to the people like at the school, then you get a message from her and it says you meet her in 2 days, and then you go talk to her and she basically explains to you like what the decision was, what she's going to be doing going forward. Okay, so you did that.
Yes, I did.
And this song that I'm talking about played at the very beginning when we were first driving in. And I don't know the name of the song. I think it's Unfinished Journey, actually. Yeah, I think it's called Unfinished Journey. And it plays at the very beginning when you're driving into like the calm part.
Yes.
You're driving into the highway, that little cinematic thing or whatever. And it's got this it's kind of got this like, I don't know if it's called synthwave or whatever, but it's kind of like this cyberpunky. It's like everybody knows what I'm talking about. But it plays at the very beginning and the very end of the story, and it's so good. Like the reason why I'm bringing it up in particular is because we all know that there's going to be a Cyberpunk collab coming out this year. And I have not watched the anime, but I did play the game.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't get to the ending that I think has that song, I really want to stay at your house. Like, that's the song that everybody talks about with the anime and Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
But if you have heard that song, this song feels like Wuthering Waves' version of that song. They have a very similar vibe. And that's all I could think about when I was listening to it. I was just like, okay, y'all, no, they might have actually done it. So, yeah, like I said, the songs are really good. But what I was going to basically say is that I think their decision, and this was like, a lot of people I think are judging the story a little bit too quickly. And what you said at the beginning.
It's only half the story.
Exactly. What you said at the beginning was perfect, because I think it was very intentional, but very good that they only gave us like 3 hours essentially. Because of the fact 3 to 4 hours, depending on your how you play, because it actually forced people to explore.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think that was a really good thing for the future of the game, because because I'm seeing online now, like, everybody's showing like, oh my gosh, look at this NPC, or oh my gosh, these 2 NPCs, like at the Star Trek Institute, where they're developing the second sun, Helios.
Yeah.
When you go in there and you see remember those 2 professors, Warren and Anselm, they're arguing.
Yeah.
In that area to the left, like if you're facing it to the left, there's like 2 students looking like they're about to fight.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
I saw them.
Yeah, and it's just like little things like that. Like, I'm seeing people posting like, oh my gosh, these 2. There's another thing somewhere on campus where there's like a student who's like stuck inside of a like a plant dome, basically. It's like this, it's a little central park, and it's right beside the cafeteria. So the cafeteria is here. It's a little park to the left, and you can even see it on the map. Technically, there's these like 3 cylindrical domes, or like just cylinders is what it looks like from top down. And there's these giant like I don't know, just plant observatory things or whatever. And so they're just there in the park, and then there's one student who's stuck inside, and he's like banging on it while the other student is just looking at him. And so it's just like little cool stuff like that that you can find, as well as just obviously the open world. Yeah. This thing, I think, is bigger than Renacida, actually.
I think it is. I tried to kind of zoom out on the map and sort of get an idea of it. I think it might be yes. Yeah. It feels like it, but I think it also makes sense, because if you introduce a mechanic like the bike that actually does go fairly fast, if the space is too small, then you have to jump off the bike all the time. Like, it would be quite annoying. So I think they have to scale the space, the environment, to the traversal mechanic, right?
100%.
And so I think it makes sense. And I think in a way they keep refining the exploration mechanics, because I mean, I know people have different preferences. I didn't mind the exploration in 1.x. It's a little, it's not as simplified as it was in 2.x, where it was very, forgiving for people, I suppose, who have less time to explore but would still like to complete. And so I think that's also a valid consideration to include. It's very helpful for people who do want to explore but don't have the time it takes to find every single chest in Huanglong, because that's quite hard at times, right? Like, you need dedication for that, right? So I think this seems helpful in that it's not everything that's on the 3.x map, but they've put sort of the major things so that if you have limited time, it's not completely impossible. It's not like a needle in a haystack to go on your bike and, is there a chest here? I don't know. You kind of know like where you're going, right? Yeah, you kind of know where you're going, but there's still things that aren't, signposted on the map that you can still find. You can still find a random chest somewhere. You can still find like little things here and there. So I think it's a nice balance of, it doesn't feel like, oh, there's no point in exploring because I can see exactly where everything I need to find is. There's still merit in just going around and exploring, and as you say, just driving the bike if you are enjoy the music, that's also,
Yeah.
you know. So I think they found a nice balance where you don't need to invest 100 hours to be able to do the exploration content, but there's also rewards for just spending time doing that if you want to.
100%. That's a really good point you bring up, because that's something I've been, I wanted to make this video back in 2.8, but I was waiting because I was like, you know what? Let's wait to see what 3.0 does. And I essentially was going to talk about how I have a really like a kind of confusing relationship with the exploration in Wuthering Waves.
Okay.
For that exact reason. Because as somebody who likes to explore, I'm gonna be 100% honest, I was very disappointed with Septimat.
Yeah.
Septimat felt very sterile, in my opinion. Like, it felt like you just you go, you kind of do the checklist of picking things up. Because like the first part of Septimat, literally I think had, outside of like the picture taking event or whatever, which those are great, I enjoy those. I think it was really like 2 major quests, and they were kind of like the same quest. It was the 2 different sides of the city and their dragons. It was like a dragon quest, and they were basically combined. But yeah, it was that. And I know there were certain things in the city, but they weren't like that big, especially like I said, for somebody who likes to like discover things and lore and all that. Raguna was actually a lot better for that. And that shows even like with some of the videos that I made. Like one of my first big videos was this video that all started based on a flag that was in Raguna. It was the Oakhart High Court, and there was like this upside down fleur-de-lis. And that discovery, and the thing is, Oakhart High Court was just like a random spot in the map. The story didn't even take you to it. So it encouraged you to explore. And like, but like I said, once you get to Sanguis Plateaus and things like that, like it wasn't, like I said, it's not that it was like bad. It was a beautiful map. It was a fun experience, but like I said, just the exploration definitely didn't feel as good as like 1.x, and even like I said in Raguna. To be honest, Riccioli Islands, I think in my personal opinion, was where it first started, because when we got to Riccioli Islands, I was just like, wait, that's it? I think most of it was like because maybe it was because of the fishing event that they did that.
I think so.
But when we get to 3.0, I think I'm starting to finally understand what they need, what their plans are with exploration. And I think this one was a lot better because of the fact, yes, they did have the quote unquote one and doneness of like getting your rewards and chests and stuff, which I do appreciate for, like you said, for people who don't have as much time. I think that's very helpful. But like I said, what about people who do enjoy, like it's an open world game at the end of the day. So you do want to have something for people who enjoy the open world aspects of things. And one of the things that I've learned is the combination of quests. There's a lot of quests in this one, in the open world, side quests. And there's a lot of NPC dialogue, which I have been very happy with. And I feel like that is like the new treasure chest in a sense, where it's like,
I know what you mean. It's information treasure.
yeah, essentially, because it's just like, okay, yeah, you know, you're running around, but it's like we have reason to go in these the different parts of the map now. Like, because at first it's just like, okay, yeah, you just drive by, pick everything up, but no, there's actually reason to like stop and go explore and talk to the natives and do. And I think that this was a really good balance, and that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting to see what they did with 3.0. And I think that, I think this one was really good. But let's shift our focus a little bit back to the story. Lynae. So what are your thoughts on Lynae as a character, what she did in the story? Pop off.
I liked her overall. I think I actually was quite happy with how she was used as a character. I know that some people feel like maybe she had too much time in the story, but I didn't necessarily see it so much as, oh, there was no main story, it was just a character story. I feel like they were using a specific character as the entry point into the main story, and I don't think it was that dissimilar to how Carlotta was used in 2.0, in the sense that, you know, rather than just having Rover show up and be like, I don't know where to go, what's all of this? It is just a more efficient way of introducing the player to the new area, to have a character having a reason to take them to certain places and introduce them to certain things. So I personally actually didn't mind the way Lynae was used. I think it was interesting to start, from the get-go, we knew that there was more to the character because they open up with her essentially assassinating someone. Like that's the first glimpse you get at her.
Shook. I was like, oh shoot, we're playing we're playing another bad guy, like a second playable villain.
And I thought it was great because I think someone in my either my comments or my chat said we went from boop to headshot in 2 seconds.
Yeah, you're right.
It went from, oh wait, who's this? That was cute to, oh, okay, what's this? But I thought that was great because immediately, you set the tone.
We went from Eye of Sauron.
Yes, true.
To boop. To
headshot. It was the full, emotional whiplash.
Yes, exactly.
But I think that was great because, again, what this bit of the story has done is just, it has set up things that haven't fully been explored yet, but we know that it's coming. We know, okay, as you say, this Threnodian is going to be a problem because it's not just a Threnodian, it's a black hole Threnodian. It's pretty bad. And it even, is a risk to Rover straight off the bat. It's a real threat, right? And then you get introduced to this other character and you're like, who's this? Who's this pink-haired girl? Why does she boop us? What's that about?
Can she boop us again?
Yeah, can she please?
Please.
But then you immediately meet this other character who straight off the bat kills someone and then tries to, depending on how you view that, kill Rover.
No, she was ready.
Bike,
she was ready.
That was intent. And I think that is just, that made me intrigued immediately. It's like, okay, well, what's this about? And I thought it was, it subverted, I think my concern when the character was first drip marketed was, oh, is this just going to be a student? Which is cool. Like, that's a cool design and it makes sense. We're going to a school environment. There will be students. But I think it would have been disappointing a little for me if she had just been a nice girl who's a student. It would have been like, oh, okay. Because I feel like being a student is not a personality trait, right? Like, that's not a motivation. That's just kind of like your occupation. And so I was actually happy that they did something really interesting with her, which was immediately show us there is more to this. This is not just the student.
Yeah.
This is a person who is hiding something, and we don't know why. There could be good reasons, but I thought, to answer your question, I thought she was used well because I was immediately intrigued in finding out what is she hiding and why is she hiding it? Is it for good reasons or, is she dodgy? And I thought it was clever that, she was used in a way that gave us reason to go to different parts of the map immediately and not just in our own time, but like immediately sent us to the different parts of the academy, introduced us to key characters. We got to meet Mornye and Luke and all of these other characters that will no doubt be...
and Iris.
It introduced us to all these characters who are now set up in a way that in the second half of the story, we don't need to be introduced to them. We already know who they are. We've already been introduced to the fact that most of these characters know us already. I mean, we already knew from the story that Rover has been there before, but we have now had confirmation that some of them actively remember Rover, or we know that they have met Rover before. So again, even though that hasn't been fully clarified or explored, there is a setup for character development or character relationship that we will find out. And so all of that just made me intrigued. So I was happy with how Lynae was used because it was a kind of blend of something that was, a story arc that was personal to her, of course. Why was she there? Her aspirations and dreams and all of that. But I think it played out in a way that tied it well into the main story because it allowed us to get to go through a lot of the exposition in a way that didn't feel exposition-y. And I think one of the criticisms I saw from a lot of people, obviously my experience playing Wuthering Waves is different because I wasn't a day one player. I came into it midway through what we have so far of the content, right? And I've caught up on everything. But when I started playing, a lot of people were saying, oh, the exposition is a bit heavy in 1.x. There's a lot of
I want to speak on that, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah. But so I think they have refined that I think already in 2.x, the exposition drops were better metered out.
Oh, 100%.
And I think this is maybe like the newest evolution of that. I think it's a clever way of getting exposition without feeling like the pace is slowing down. You know, it's not like, oh yes, welcome to the school. Here's one professor. Here's another professor. You know, it felt organic the way the information was delivered, and the action came from, I suppose, Lynae's personal aspects of the story, but it still tied into the main story. You know, the attempts to sabotage this, you know, launch of the second sun. Like, you know, it is clearly main story related. So I thought it was quite elegant the way they used Lynae, and I thought she was a great character in her own right.
I think. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize because I
No, that was it. That was it.
A couple things on that. So I want to start with the 1.x thing because this is something that I was kind of alluding to earlier, but I didn't get into deeply. A lot of people's issues with 1.x. The reason why. So I've said this a couple times. The story has not really moved significantly since 1.3. That is actually just the truth. Technically, it started moving again in 2.7. And so what I mean by move is this. The entirety of 2.x was actually, after it was all said and done, I started to realize it. They basically retold the story or redid 1.0. Except it was just all of 2.x. And to anybody who's listening, you probably are having like a little bit of a brain blast right now because you're like, oh, wait. Yo, you're right. Because the thing is, 1.0 specifically, and the two main parts being the part in the laboratory with Mornye and Baisha, where they were basically like, you know, explaining the stuff, and that, and Yang in the very beginning, where the thing about it is Yang told us so much information. Literally in the first, like from the time we woke up to the time we fought, not even fought the Crownless, to the time we actually got to the city.
Yeah.
The amount of information that she told us about Wuthering Waves is insane. Like if anybody were to just start a new account and then listen to Yang, you'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What? The Pangu terminal? That terminals are called Pangu terminals, and Pangu is like the name of basically the world, or like all the continents or whatever. Like
there's a lot of lore drop in the very first few hours.
She tells us about the amount of cities in Hong Long. You know, every place has a sentinel. Like there's a lot of information she drops. It's insane. It's just insane. And so what they tried to do, I believe, with 2.x was retell a lot of that stuff, even with like, you know, Retroact Rain and the Threnodian. The Dark Tide and Leviathan were kind of like if we were thinking about narratively speaking, 2.x did narratively what 1.0 did. It just did it over a longer span of time, to where it got us. So 1.x was like a prologue. I've said that before. 2.x was like chapter 1 really. And the purpose of it was just to, you know, and the reason why I think they did this is because a lot of people skipped to 2.x because they had the option to. When Renacita came out, they basically said, if you guys want to just go straight to Renacita, you can. And I think a lot of people probably did. And so because so many people skipped 1.x, they were like, okay, we need to make sure that our player base understands the world that they're in. They understand, you know, the stakes, essentially, right? They need to understand what the Threnodians are. They need to understand a little bit more about waveform phenomenons, because we did explain all this stuff, but we explained it in a very small amount of time, to the point where people it was too much information for people to take in. Yeah. Within that, for most people who aren't just like heavily, like basically if you're approaching it from a casual perspective, you're probably not listening that hard to every single thing that they're saying, which I don't blame anybody for. So I think that's why 2.x was handled the way that it was, basically, because of that. With that being said, 3.x is about to be, in my personal opinion, I think the pace is going to be moving a lot faster, because the setup has already been done. Like 2.x gave everybody their setup. We understand where we are now. Now we can, we know the what, basically, as I said earlier. Yeah. Now we can get into the how. Now surrounding Lynae, I'm gonna be honest. I think a lot of people have, what's the best word to describe this? A lot of people are, it's kind of like a PTSD sort of thing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but it's basically just like they have this unfortunate, there's a better word for this and it's escaping me at the moment, but I think because of past issues in the story, they are carrying that over essentially into 3.0.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be, just my personal opinion, I think most people would agree with me on this. Story felt very much like a companion quest. Even though I know it had some main story beats to it, it felt like one, probably more so than any other one before it. Which is kind of crazy because even Frolova's didn't feel like a companion quest, even though we were literally with her probably for the same amount of time or longer than but Frolova's felt like it was more connected with the world, and probably because we knew Frolova longer. But I think because of that, people had this like inherent like apprehension to that sort of thing.
I understand that.
Yeah, and so when they saw Lynae and they were expecting, okay, 3.x, you showed all these characters in the drip marketing. We saw Mornye, Luke, Sigrika, Lucilla, so forth, so on, Lynae. Everybody's just expecting, all right, we're going to school. Time to see our classmates and our teachers and everything. With that being said, I agree. I do not think that this was a companion quest in the slightest. I don't think it was handled like one, personally. Yes, we were with Lynae for a good bit, but truth be told, we were with Lynae probably, I'd say, for half of it. Because like we were with Lynae for some parts, then we weren't. We went to go see Mornye. We spoke to Luke a couple times, and even in those moments, she was kind of like chilling on the outside the first time, and the second time we just went to go see Luke. It was just us, and so I'd say she was there for about half. But I think, like you said, it was very natural. And
it didn't feel weird for me, certainly.
Yeah, and the thing that a lot of people were wanting, and I do understand it, but a lot of people wanted Chisa to be that person.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't think she would have been suited for that role, though.
No, but I guess I can see I see why people sometimes feel like a character gets introduced to then never really come back.
Yes.
And that feels a bit jarring, especially that we've established that Chisa is also a student. I think, though, it's valid that Chisa was a student 20 years ago. To her, it's not that long ago.
She was only a student for like a week, I think,
but
maybe a month max.
I can kind of see why they would say we're going to get someone who's been here longer and is more connected to what is happening in the space right now.
Exactly.
To be that guide. I think maybe there was a balance that could have been found where Chisa could have just factored in, even just because there was only the optional conversation really with her.
And some people missed it, interestingly enough.
I did, because I always go for the optional objectives first, but it was kind of pointing in the same direction, and I saw that there was a fast travel mechanic that hadn't been explained, and I thought, I need to take this. And as soon as you jump on that, it's too late.
I didn't know that.
I think a lot of people will have missed it because it looks like, you need to ride this to go to them. In doing so, you lock it out. I think it would have been nice to maybe make it so that it wasn't an optional conversation, but just they arrive together and go like, oh, great, lovely, by the way, have a little conversation, and then we go into it. So it feels like there's more closure on Chisa. But I mean, this is the thing. It's only the first half.
And
I feel like
what I was gonna get at.
It's not too late for her to show up again in the story, and she might. So I think let's reserve judgment until we've seen how this plays out.
This
is the thing. She could be,
and so that's why I think
she could be integral to the second part. So
a lot of people are getting into this, I think, a little bit too haphazardly, where they're just like, all right, close the curtains, show's over. This is the answer.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's a little soon. It's a little.
I think it's premature. Yeah.
And so, like I said, we only got the first half because, like I said, as opposed to Renacita, where like the first 2.0, I want to say it was
That was like
7 or 9
8
hours.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's a lot, as opposed to 3 to 4 hours for the first one, right? Depending on, I'd say 3 for most people. For me, it was longer because I was talking, whatever, for anybody who watches my playthroughs, you guys know I'm usually giving you guys, it's educational. It's the story, but I'm also explaining like, the lore bits and what have you. And so, yeah, I think let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Like I said, I think Lynae was the right choice for the guide because that's the role that was being played. Like I said, chisa, like I said, she was a student 20 years ago. A lot of stuff has probably changed, but then she wasn't a student for long either. She literally just became a student. I want to say it was like a week or a month where she had been there. So she would not have had the same level of, just, I guess, expertise, what have you, as Lynae, who had been there for 2 years.
Yeah. And one point I think that's also kind of important is, please correct me if I missed something here, but as far as I'm aware, Lynae is the only character there who knew that there was a Fraxidus plot.
Wrong.
I mean, apart from anyone who's obviously involved in it, but do you know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah, you're
Chisa
right.
wouldn't know about that. And so
yes.
I think it was kind of because of her specific background and how she came into this story herself. She was the only person who could actually flag what is pretty important information. And obviously, tells us a lot about, oh, okay, say less. We can imagine what that means.
And we learned stuff about the New Federation.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is also...
So there was a lot of information.
As well as, interestingly enough, Kalkara. We learned about him a bit because of the fact, since he's from the New Federation, and specifically, for those who don't know, I think everybody knows Calculator at this point. So basically at the end of 2.8, because before 2.7, before the finale, if somebody said, who's Cantaloupe? I would have been like, hey, look, I understand that you don't know who Chevrolet is, but yeah, like, so basically, now that everybody does know who Calculus is, he's from the Lawless Zone of, okay, I'll drop the bit. Kakarot. I'll see if anybody knows what that means. I'll just tell you. That was his name in closed beta. His name was Kakarot, and then it became Kalkara. I really wish they kept Kakarot. I don't know why they switched it. I don't know if it was like copyright or what. But
yeah, it could have been that they were like, we can't get them confused.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so basically he's from the Lawless Zone of New Fed. And so we also got more information about that area, where it's just like people are dying like every, what did she say, like every 3 days or something like that, somebody's dying.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Sounds pretty bad.
Yeah. So
you can understand why everyone's leaving.
Yeah. Like poor little Verena. Like, because she's from the New Fed as well. Alto's from the New Fed. So yeah, a lot of people. Now, to be fair, Verena might not be from the Lawless Zone. She could be. New Federation is looking. I'm very excited about it, but it's looking to be like split. Like there's a Lawless Zone, and then probably like a really nice zone, but it's probably super corrupt. So yeah, 9 times out of 10, probably good thing that Verena got out of there when she did.
Yeah,
or her parents got her out of there. But yeah. So yeah, we learned a lot. Lynae played a very pivotal role in this first part of the story, and just for what it was supposed to be, a setup, I think they did a good job.
I think so too. And shout out to Elsie Lovelock for doing an amazing job in the English version. She voiced her very beautifully.
100%. I have to say though, you're scary.
What?
I listened to your stream, and you were doing like a Lynae impression, and I was like, wait, if I close my eyes, you were almost like, I was like, wait a second, this is crazy. No, but yeah, shout out.
Elsie did such a good job.
You definitely did. The character felt well done. Felt like it felt natural, I guess is what I would say. Like it felt very natural.
I think as well, it's just to glaze Elsie for a second. I think one thing that people might not realize is we knew about Lynae's character from the beginning, that she was hiding something because of how she was introduced, right? So
Yes.
so there was no, confusion about that. We knew she was hiding stuff, but it's actually quite hard, I think, to play a character who the player knows is hiding something. But so doing the vocal performance, the difference between her when she's not being observed and how she acts when she is being observed, that was kind of a masterclass in how you can act suspicious but in a way that feels organic. It looks easy when someone like Elsie does it, because
you don't realize it at the time.
Yeah. But if you think about the difference in what Lynae sounds like when she is just, on her own making these observations, and then, as soon as she's in trouble, she amps up the, oh, sorry, I'm just, oops. And she did it really, really well. And I just wanted to shout that out, because I think she did a really, really good job of making it obviously the same character. There was consistency,
yes,
but making it very, very clear when she was, what was the real persona and what was the one she was,
when she changed
putting
her
on a little bit.
Like when she drops Rover off at the train station, and then she puts her mask on. First of all, Lynae, we know who you are. That mask is not hiding. Yeah. No.
Not very subtle.
Like, not you got subtle. All these graffiti and long blonde hair. Like, I'm sorry.
It's not very, Yeah.
But Elsie, you did a great job, because that change, I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good because I almost forgot what she did at the very beginning of the story. Like when she put that mask back on, I was like, oh yeah, she's not good. She's bad. Like I honestly forgot. But yeah, no, for sure. That is definitely something that it just felt very natural. So it did not feel suspicious at all. Even the moments where she was trying to like hide it in front to Rover or whatever, and she was like, oh yeah, I thought you would just let me slide like the rest of them did.
Yeah.
And it was just like, nah.
But she was endearing as well. I think what is important about a character like that is she could have easily been someone that the player just dislikes because it's like, oh, you're withholding information from me. But I think ultimately, in part due to the writing, but also the performance, the character for me certainly came across as sympathetic. Yes, she hides things. Yes, she was manipulative at times. And yeah, she might have broken Rover's hip with a bike. But, I understand why she was doing it. I understand why she was distrustful. And you can understand her motivations. And so I feel like overall there was nothing at the end that made me go like, oh, this character didn't make sense. She made complete sense to me. And the performance really just made her seem like a nuanced character, because again, 3 hours isn't actually that much. And if we say she was in it for half of it, an hour and a half isn't that much to introduce a new character, to set up this whole, oh, there's something more to them.
Yeah, and she's very believable. You're actually right. Yeah, and see, this is the thing, like, nobody thinks about that, because, like, this is actually a common issue that people have, where they're like, we've known this character for X amount of time. You're not about to get me to care about this character that quick. I'm sorry. Like, but the thing about it is, there are ways to do it. Like, there genuinely are ways to do it. And I think it's in two parts. One part is on the writers for how they write the character. And then the other part is on the voice actor for how they, because like I literally do this all the time. Everybody who knows about my channel, I'm a broken record at this point for it, but Chacona's event quest, it was so good. And there's a particular, I think I heard that it was Geshulin's voice actor who actually did this line. But in Chacona's event quest, when you're in that little book thing or whatever, have you done it?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but it was the bit in 2.3 that leads into 2.4. Yeah.
Correct. I had somebody comment in my thing and say that they didn't do it when it came out. They did it later, and then they were confused in the finale because, like,
of course,
because they were like, wait, no, they weren't confused in the finale. They did Frolova's quest. Then they did Chacona's after, and they were like, wait, didn't Federico die?
Yeah. I get that.
They were confused that Federico was still alive, and it was just like, bro, you did it at like that was before. But yeah, so actually I had somebody else tell me they didn't do 2.8 part 2. Like they skipped it. They skipped the second part of Chisa's thing, and then they started 3.0 and were confused like how did we get to this university?
Yeah.
It's just like you skipped
I will say, you know, I mean, personally, the story is the thing that intrigues me, so I would never skip any of it. But I understand that maybe people have less time and they are less story focused. But I would say if you skip main story quests,
that's why like Chikona, I get, but
expect to be confused.
Yeah, Chisa's is the main story, so like, what do you expect? And I was like, I'm happy that you were willing to be humble enough to admit that they skipped it, but but yeah, like I said, there are ways, and so the reason why I was saying that is because in 2.3 there was an NPC who was basically a part of the I think he was a part of like the guard or something like that. Like he was a knight in Raguna, and the order was basically saying that they were like you know, just shirking or being derelict in their duties or whatever. And he was like, "You hypocrites!" Like he was like, "We didn't do this for the darn order," or whatever. Like he was just like going in on him, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this dude is going!" And like the voice acting performance, that was one of my favorite NPC voice acting performances. And he wasn't even in 3D; he was just 2D. But it was the voice. It was like the passion behind what he was saying. It is just like I said, still to this day, one of like my favorite experiences because it just hits so hard. But yeah, so like I said, getting somebody to care about a character,
it's hard
that quickly
in a short amount of time. Yeah. So I just think they did it really, really well. Because I certainly cared, and now I'm like, oh yeah, no, she can hang. You know, she's great.
Nice. No, yeah. So definitely, like I said, I think overall this patch, like I said, we've touched. The music was great. Like it genuinely was. And like I said, I look forward to hearing your thoughts as you get to listen to some more of the tracks.
Yes.
The remixes were good. We got some Persona songs. We got some Sonic songs. The Sonic songs are actually really good on the bike because if you know much about Sonic, they do like really good when it comes to music and rock and roll and stuff like that. Yeah. And so those were good. Pioneer Podcast had a song. It's called For Ya. And
I don't know if I've heard it. I'll be honest. I don't know which tracks are which, but I'll listen out for it.
Yeah. It's so basically your best bet would just be to go to the radio because otherwise it's going to play the same album. So it's basically album based. And it probably has you on an album right now. And it's probably just replaying that album.
Gotcha.
So if you want to listen to other ones, then you have to go into the this is my suggestion, biggest tip for everybody with the bike. Go to your utilities in the menu, and usually when you hit, I think it's like if you're using a controller, it's like L, and if you're using mouse keyboard, it might be tab. But it's basically the thing where you like can go to your map, you can go to your backpack, like all that stuff. Switch one of those out for your bike, and switch another one out for the radio. When you're on the bike, because the bike has its own thing.
I didn't realize the radio was a separate one. Yeah, because I was like, how are you all making playlists? Like, it's not that I didn't want to do it, I just didn't figure out how to do it yet. So I was like, that makes sense. Yeah,
so basically I want to say it should be on your bike, but if it's not, just go to utilities and you can adjust what things you want where. There's 3 now. There's the bike, there's normal, and then there's like a third one which is exclusively for like other stuff. But basically you can do that, and then like I said, there's albums, and you can essentially, you know, you listen to your albums and you just click a button to favorite. It's like a heart. It'll show you the button, corresponding button. And the Pioneer Podcast is an album separately. It only has 1 song on it. It's called For Ya, and it's a vibe.
I'll check that one out.
But yeah, so yeah, like I said, the music was good. I actually think, this is my personal opinion, I think the bike is better than Flight.
Fair enough.
Now let me tell you why.
Okay.
It's not so much that it's better than Flight just purely on its own merit. I think Flight was, now like I said, the customization of the bike is really good, I have to admit. Like there's a lot of customization for that bike, and I was actually shocked at how much.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a lot.
and specifically because like I was thinking, oh, okay, you just get your normal bike. They gave you a little skin at the end of the story with Lynae's spray paint stuff. Then you can purchase the one with the two sides of Lynae, which was really cool. But I was kind of thinking that was it, and then we would get like some solid colors. I looked into the bike menu, and there's so much. I was like, oh shoot, this is free. Well, obviously you have to like grind for it, but it's just like,
yeah, that's a lot of stuff to unlock. I
was pleasantly surprised with the amount of customization that the bike had. But I think the biggest thing for me, and this is like, I guess you could say my hot take for 2.x. I liked 2.x, y'all. I know I'm not trying to like, oh, 2.x is over and now you're being, well, actually, yeah, I am being critical because I waited till the whole thing was over. But I think Flight did not integrate as well into Renacida as the bike is in Lahairoi. Like Lahairoi literally feels like it was built with the bike in mind. And I mean, the reality is we expect things to improve. Like that should be an expectation. Flight and Renacida, as much as I enjoyed it, and I very much did, I do feel like it was underutilized. It kind of just felt like do this to not have to use the teleporters as much. Whereas, here's an example. Imagine if Renacida somehow had like multiple sky temples or something.
Yeah.
And that way the flight didn't just feel like I'm just going over everything, as opposed to like I'm using it to traverse in the air, but the air also has like more purpose.
I feel like they did that a little bit in Avenolium because there were all those islands that you could only get to by flying there. I thought, and because of the inverted gravity, that was a tricky area to explore. I think what I appreciated about the flight is that I thought it was interesting to explore in 3 dimensions, you know, thinking air into it as well. And I thought that was fun to play around with. So I think but it's so early days, I still think I prefer Flight just because I thought it made the way I thought about exploration different, because it's not just, oh, something will be on the ground somewhere. It could be anywhere. And I thought that was really fun. But I can see why the bike, I agree with you that it feels more like, well, this is a world where I believe that people travel by bike because it's clearly built for the bikes. And there are these tracks everywhere. Yeah. You are building the tracks. You know, if you're doing that bit of the content, like there's... Yeah, the little screen, the totally 3D printing thing. Yeah, which I think is a fun thing in itself. You know, like I can see what you mean about it maybe feeling more like a thing that exists in the world and isn't just oh yeah, by the way, this is a mechanic. Yeah, like I think you make a good point, right? And once again, it's not the flight that I had an issue with. It was more so the way that the maps encouraged flight or did not encourage flight. And I think you're 100% right. The Avenolium did encourage flight because of the flying islands, but that was just like one small part. And I guess I just wish that throughout Renacida, like Septima as well, Raguna, Riccioli Islands, like I wish there were more things like that to encourage, as opposed to just you can fly over everything and have like you can like have the flying part was fun. Like it's not the mechanic, it's the way the mechanic was utilized. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So yeah, the flight itself, because the flight was really good. It had really good controls. It felt very smooth. For anybody who, I think most people's biggest issue, and I had to tell a bunch of people when I was streaming, was like invert your controls, because most people are used to inverted flight controls, even if they don't realize it. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Because most flying games have inverted controls, and so when people were doing the flight, they kept like crashing. And I was like, invert your flight, do that, it's gonna feel great. Invert flight and boost on launch, and you'll be good. But no, the flying felt good. It was not the mechanic. It was more so just I felt like the world did not encourage it as much as I would have wanted it to. As opposed to, like I said, with 3.x, I feel like they did. But yeah, so like I said, I think the story was good, introduction, bike was good, music was good. The exploration, as I said, was also really good. And has been, and like I said, I'm sure you'll get an opportunity to do more of that as time progresses. But I guess, like I said, I would
the biggest thing that I would say for most people is that just get ready, because like I said, the story is about to start moving fast.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has much of a choice. It'll make more sense. I've been a little bit of a hiatus. I have some lore videos coming out soon, and plural. You guys are gonna be eaten. Just trust me. By the time this is over, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, wait a second. I did not know that things were going in this direction, because they've been kind of coy, I guess is what I would say, about the story up to this point, where like in terms of like the direction it's gonna be going in. But Lynae is the place where things are going to be shifting. So it would be to everyone's benefit to lock in, because it's you'll see. But yeah, so that do you have any final words?
Just that I don't even fully understand what they are, because I haven't gone to the part of the map where it's explained, but there's an exploration thing now where you can find these little animals, echoes, I don't know what they are, and they go like, and I think that is the cutest thing I have ever experienced in my life, and I am obsessed with those creatures, whatever they are.
So they're called Soulless Kid, and I 100% agree. I think they are adorable, and two people that I've spoken to have called them disgusting, and I am
what?
Yes,
how could you say that?
I know. Like, listen, okay, yes, it has a big eye. I get it, but it's like a cuter Mike Wazowski, in my opinion.
It's just a little bloop of something,
Yeah, they're
whatever they are.
adorable.
How could you be mad at them when they sound like that? They sound so cute.
I think they're adorable. I thought they were adorable when I saw them the first time on the IGN thing. Or no, it's PlayStation. I think PlayStation got the trailer for that. And I was just like, I
just think they're adorable.
That.
They're just there being lost, and then you pick them up and they go like, I think that's so cute.
No, yeah, they're adorable. There's a quest you can do where you actually get to, I'll just say you get to communicate with them. That's what I'll say.
Right. Oh, okay. I'm sold. I think they're just in the furthest corner of the map. I've kind of gone the other way, and so
they're
I haven't.
Everywhere.
No, but there's like a quest. The first time you pick one up, it's like, come and speak to this guy, and I haven't.
Oh yeah,
so
that one. Yeah,
I don't know, so I don't really know what the context is. I'm just vibing with them. I think they're great.
Yeah, they're 100% great. They are. I'm very happy with their existence.
And the new Sonan's casket thing guy is
tapes.
Cool.
And,
the guy, he's really cool. He was giving me all sorts of visions to other things. I was just like, ooh. He was interesting. He was an interesting character.
He looks like a Destiny character. And I was gonna say,
he looks like a Destiny character.
Yeah, I don't even play the game. Like I tried it, but
that was my first thought. Was like, this guy is straight out of Destiny.
He looks cool though.
Okay, great. I'm glad you had the same idea. He seems super cool. Yeah, I don't 100% understand, but I'm like, do you know what? I don't need to know. I just need to know.
Have you given him any tapes yet?
Yes, I have.
So you saw what happens?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's just like, okay, like this is.
I'm gonna let him cook.
Yeah, I'm very interested to hear what he says. Like, if he has like some crazy revelation or something once you like deliver all the tapes to him.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's like one of the things I'm looking forward to.
Of what the tapes are, like that's quite.
And
it's
what
not
he's
just
doing.
like, yeah, this is what I mean. Like it feels a bit more, because what were the Sonan's caskets? Really, it's just like, oh yeah, these things are there. Like pick them up. That's great.
Yeah,
it was a bit vague. Whereas this seems a little bit more poignant in a way. Like, oh, collect these and I'll put them to rest. Like, okay, it feels. Yeah, I think it was a nice way of
them as well, which is honestly the more that I think about it, especially with what I know, and I know this. I know I'm being cryptic, but you'll understand when the time comes. I gotta save some stuff for the video.
Good.
But with what I know, the nature of I know his name. I think his name starts with an A. I'm actually sad.
I've forgotten. I've forgotten his name as well. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like Andreas or Antonio or I'm something.
Yeah.
But
it's been too long.
The nature of what I understand about, I'm gonna be honest with you, I probably understand the entirety of Lynae at this point.
Okay.
I know that sounds like like bold.
No, I trust.
But
I trust.
it's legitimately like, this is why I said I don't think that we can stay in the place that we're in for much longer in terms of like our understanding of things and like the direction the story is going is going to shift, because I don't see how they could have given us this much information this fast. And I know it's a lot of people, you guys are like, what are you talking about? But you'll see, like, when you connect all the information we've gotten in the story up to this point, there's like a brain blast moment, and it's just like, wait a second, really? You guys are going here now? Like, I didn't expect where we are right now to happen until, like, I don't know, like, I almost thought it was like a pseudo endgame sort of thing.
Okay.
But
Well, that sounds promising.
yeah, the fact that they're doing it this soon makes me just like, wait, what is the story about then?
I heard something.
I thought the story was about this, but you're giving a yeah, like I said, you'll
right.
you all will see.
All right.
So with all that being said, thank you so much as always.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and thank you all as well for being here. If you haven't tried 3.0 yet, definitely encourage you to. It's crazy. It's got a solid start so far, and it's gonna be going. If the live stream for 3.0 is anything to go by, because if you all watched it, you would know there's some cutscenes we have not seen yet, and those are likely in the second part, and they looked kind of wild. So hopefully you all enjoy. There will be a lot of content coming in the very near future. So until next time, we'll both see you. Peace.
Hey, you. Do the thing.